Hi, bestie. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to the Best Friend Book Club. I'm so happy you made it. I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be getting into a chapter by chapter summary of everything that happens in Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. If you want early access to episodes, or if you want access to the documents that I make for each book, you can check out the Patreon. It's going to be patreon.com/bestfriendbookclubpodcast. This is going to be my warning to you. I might cry. I mean, I might not, but I might cry. I love this series so much. This is my first time doing a reread. I'm doing the romantic order this time, and I cried so much reading this book. So let's just get into it. We're going to have 5 different novellas to cover. This is just going to be all of the nitty-gritty details, everything that happens. Let's jump right in. So we have first up the assassin and the pirate lord. So Selena is 16 years old. She's attending a meeting with Arabin, who's the king of the assassins, and his inner circle. 2 of the 7 members are missing. Arabin ends up telling them that Gregory has been captured. So Gregory is one of the 2 that was missing. Selena says that they should send someone to kill Gregory so that he doesn't tell anyone what he knows. Sam objects to this, but Arabin already gave the order for Gregory to be killed. Selena is Arabin's heir and not Sam, which causes some tension between the 2 of them. And Selena is told that Ben was killed. So the 2 people that were missing were Ben and Gregory. Ben was killed, Gregory was captured in the process, and then Gregory was killed by Arabin's orders. Ben was Arabin's second. Selena then finds out that they didn't retrieve Ben's body. She gets into an argument with Sam about whether or not to retrieve it, and she decides to go get his body herself. We then have Sam and Selena. They're in Skulls Bay. They're visiting Captain Rolfe, who's the pirate lord. They had 3 assassins murdered by pirates, and Sam and Selena are sent with a sealed letter from Arabin to go confront Rolfe about this. Rolfe is late for their meeting, and Selena has her feet kicked up on his desk. She's sitting in his chair looking through all of his things, and she's stressing Sam out. He's telling her to sit down, and she's not listening to him. I mean, obviously. We then have Rolfe coming in, and Selena eventually gets out of the chair, makes her way over to the other side to sit next to Sam. They give the letter from Arabin to Rolfe, and this is when they find out, when Selena finds out, they weren't there because of the dead assassins. They're there because Arabin wants to get into slave trading, and he's working out some kind of business deal with Rolfe. At this point, Sam seems to know that's the reason they're there, but Selena had no idea. They then find out they're going to need to stay in Skulls Bay while things get put into motion, and they're staying in one room with 2 beds, but still, they're staying in one room. Once they get into their room, Sam then tells Selena that he had no clue what was happening. He just didn't want to look like they didn't know what was going on. They later go to dinner with Rolfe and a few of his captains, but Selena is wearing her mask and she can't eat because no one knows that she's actually a 16-year-old girl. People know that she's Selena Sardathian, but they don't know what she looks like. Very mysterious gal. Rolfe then tells them that the map on his hands hasn't moved in 8 years. So he has this map that allegedly he sold his soul for to then know where there's treasure and where his enemies are, but it hasn't moved in 8 years, which is how long magic has been outlawed, or magic disappeared 8 years ago. He warns Selena that there's always going to be someone wanting her position and gives Sam the advice to kill her to take her spot. But Sam knows that Arabin would kill him if he killed Selena. Later that night, Selena isn't really able to sleep, and when she wakes up, she decides she will not be responsible for taking these slaves to Rifthold. She's trying to come up with some kind of plan. She then walks through the streets of Skulls Bay with Rolfe and asks him some questions about the slaves. She finds out that there's 100 of them. They'll be inspected the next day, and she insists on joining them for the inspection. She's trying to get as much information out of him as possible about where they are, when all this is going to happen, etc., etc. She gets back to the room, and Sam has breakfast waiting for her like she asked. He wants to know what she's planning, but she won't tell him. She doesn't fully trust him just yet. She lies and says she's interested in Rolf romantically, even though he's 12 years older than her. And again, she's 16. He gets upset about this and they argue a little bit. And then Sam says that she's not the head of the Assassin's Guild yet and she can't be ordering him around. Selena and Sam are then taken to the holding facility for the slaves. Rolf tells them a little bit about what each slave can be sold for and how the king of Aderlin is buying slaves for the salt mines of Endovier. When she asks about the children, Rolf suggests that there will be madams at the auctions to buy the children, which then sets Sam on edge because his mother was a courtesan. They leave the holding facility and go to the ocean where Selena starts pulling off her mask, her cloak, and she gets into the water, and then Sam stops her. They get into a little bit of a tussle here, and Selena tells him about her plan to free the slaves. He suggests they do that and then not go back to Rifthold. Sam also asks why she thinks Arobin would want them away from Rifthold for a month, but she insists that they can trust Arobin. Rolf then brings Selena and Sam to inspect the slaves on the ship. They're asking a lot of questions. How is the ship going to be guarded? Pretending that it's because they care if the slaves are stolen. Selena ends up asking if any of the slaves speak the common tongue for the argument of they'll be worth more. But she finds a man from Eelway who says he does know the common tongue, and they just leave it there. Sam and Selena later that night take rowboats to each of the 2 ships that slaves are being kept on and signal to each other that they're ready to go in. So there's 2 ships. One of them is going back to Rifthold and the other one is going somewhere else, but both of them have slaves on them. Selena then gets onto the boat, knocks out all of the guards, and ties up the captain. She then heads to where the slaves are being kept and finds Dia, who's the man from Eelway who knows the common tongue. She asks him to translate for her and tells him that they need to start paddling at dawn to get the boat out of the bay. She gives them the key to their chains and hears the other slaves translating. So she's starting to think they knew the common tongue, but didn't say anything when they were asked. The only person that stood up and said that they knew the common tongue was this man named Dia. So then Dia gets on a boat to go to the other ship to go tell those slaves the same thing. So basically what was happening was Selena was doing that on this ship. On the other ship, Sam was knocking out all of the guards so that when Dia got there, he could just walk right in. Then Sam and Selena get on a rowboat and go back to shore. The 2 of them then end up in a tavern with Rolf. Selena has her mask on and Sam is drinking with Rolf. They end up playing cards and drinking into the early morning hours. And Sam has a hole in the bottom of his cup, so Rolf doesn't realize he's not actually drinking as much as he seems to be. Right around 5 a.m, Selena trips someone to intentionally start a brawl, and her and Sam try to slip out. They're on their way to disarm this chain that lies across the bay to prevent ships from going in and out unless they were authorized to. And then there's also a catapult that they're trying to disarm. When Rolf appears and asks, going somewhere? Rolf ends up getting into a sword fight with Selena and tells Sam to go so that he can disable the chain. She ends up taking her mask off and reveals her face and then tells Rolf that she's 16. Selena then tells Rolf of her plan to free the slaves. He thought she was just stealing them to take the profit for herself, but she wants them to be free. She then runs towards the watchtower where Sam is trying to move the chain, but it can't be done by one person, and they didn't take that into account. He then points the catapult at the chain and is able to break it so the slave ships can enter the bay. When Selena looks back to the tower, Sam is missing and she's worried that he's dead. She then has a knife to her throat and Rolf is the one holding it. Selena is obviously able to disarm him and get him on his back. She then tells him he needs to sign 2 documents, and if he doesn't sign it, she memorized his signature and she stole his seal ring that first day that they were in his office, and she threatens to kill him and forge the documents. The letters he needs to sign, one is to Arobin telling him that the deal is off. He's not allowed to buy slaves from Rolf. The second letter is stating that Skulls Bay will be a safe haven to slaves freeing from Aderlin, and he will personally kill any pirates caught slave trading in Skulls Bay. This girl's too smart for her own good. She reminds him that he's seen her face and she should kill him for that alone, but promises to hunt him down if he doesn't abide by these rules that she set. She then knocks him out again and races to go find Sam in the rubble of the tower. She's freaking out, trying to move these heavy rocks when she hears his voice behind her. She embraces him and he rests his cheek on her head, and they hold each other for a little while, and then she threatens to gut him if he tells anybody about this, and he says, "Let's go home." That's The Assassin and the Pirate Lord. I thought that was pretty good. The first time I read it, I was like, okay, and why do I care? Because I read it first. But I do think, let me just get on my soapbox real quick. I really do think Assassin's Blade should be read first. Yes, you can read it after Crown of Midnight. If you're not going to read it first, read it after Crown of Midnight. Reading it after Heir of Fire is just kind of like, I feel a little like after finishing Heir of Fire, I just wanted to get right into Queen of Shadows, and this was what was in the way of that. So it made it a little less enjoyable because I was like, I just want to get to Queen of Shadows because that's my favorite book. But I do think that Assassin's Blade should go first. But y'all already knew that. The second novella that we're moving on to is called The Assassin and the Healer. We start from the point of view of Irene Towers, and I'm pretty sure it's Irene, like Irene, but it was the Y. Irene Towers. She's a barmaid at the White Pig Tavern / Inn. She's serving a mysterious young girl whose face she can't see. We find out that this job was kind of a last resort for Irene, and she's not paid well, but it got her out of whatever situation she was in. We then switch to Selena Sardathian's point of view, and she was sent to Inish by Arabin Hamel. She's waiting for a ship to take her to Yurpa, which is in the Red Desert, so that she can meet the Mute Master. She doesn't know where Sam is. She's debating completely ignoring her orders from Arabin and instead going somewhere else where she can set up her own assassin's guild. We then have Irene's point of view, and something feels off in the bar. Some mercenaries are making passes at her, but she lies and says she has a husband. We switch to Selena's point of view, and she heads to her room for the night, but after 15 minutes, she decides to go look for a fight to blow off some steam. Back to Irene's point of view. She's cleaning up after last call. She's thinking about when her mom passed 8 years ago and how she ended up in Inish on her way to the school for healers. She took this job because she needed money, but then she was worried that she would run out of money, and she just ended up staying there. Then the 4 mercenaries from earlier end up cornering her in the alley behind the bar. The men, one by one, are pulled into the mist and then not heard from. 2 of them are left standing when the mystery girl from earlier comes out of the mist holding 2 bloody daggers. I love her so much. Irene then watches the girl take down another mercenary, and then the 4th one runs off. We'll put a pin in that. From Selena's point of view, she's angry at this girl for being out in the alley in the first place. The girl offers to patch her up, but Selena doesn't take her up on that. They end up going into the inn, where Selena tells her she should have known better. The girl then firmly tells Selena to let her clean her arm. In Irene's room, under the stairs, she patches up the girl who saved her life. The girl takes off her hood, and she looks 2 to 3 years younger than Irene, but she feels a little older. Irene asks her name, but she doesn't tell her. The girl asks what a healer's daughter is doing in this shitty town, and the girl encourages her to go to the Torre Sesame. I think that's how you say it. The Torre Sesame. That's what we're going with, guys. The girl is all patched up and gets up to leave when she offers to show Irene how to defend herself. So I'm saying the girl because, again, Irene doesn't know her name. So in Irene's point of view, it's like this girl. And Selena's point of view, it's just this girl, until Irene tells her name. We then have Selena's point of view. She's in the alley giving Irene a rundown on self-defense and what to yell if she's ever being attacked, which is like so real. She's telling her like yell fire because it's the only thing people care about. After their lessons, the air in the alley shifts. Selena nods to the inn, telling Irene to get inside, and 5 men converge on her in this alley. We then have Irene's point of view. She's inside listening to what's happening in the alley when someone comes behind her with a knife to her neck. He takes her into the alley where Selena has already killed 2 of the mercenaries. The mercenary from earlier who got away, we can take the pin out because we put a pin in it. The pin's gone. The guy from earlier brought 4 of his friends. The man holding Irene threatens to kill her if Selena doesn't drop her weapons. Selena, of course, refuses to drop her weapons and wordlessly encourages Irene to use the skills that she just taught her. Irene ends up stomping on his foot and getting away while Selena kills the rest of the men in the alley. Afterwards, Irene calls Selena crazy, which is very valid, and Selena tells her to tell no one about this, and she vanishes from the alley. Irene then goes inside, washes her clothes, and comes back to her room when she sees a bag on her bed and a note underneath it. The bag is full of coins and the ruby brooch that the mystery girl was wearing. The note says the world needs more healers. It basically says this is to get you where you need to go. Irene then walks out of the back of the white pig and doesn't look back. Full body chills. Selena's point of view, she's on a boat heading to the silent assassins, and she's thinking about how she left that money for Irene. She felt a bond with her because they both had their lives changed because of Aderlin. She's hoping Irene is able to take the money and run instead of telling anyone about it, and Selena gets all settled in and falls asleep on her journey to the Red Desert. That wraps up the second novella. I liked the second novella. It just wasn't my favorite of the 5, but it was still good. I don't dislike any of them. It was still good. We're going to move on to the third novella, which is The Assassin and the Desert. So Selena is making her way through the Red Desert with a nomad guiding her. He stops and points in the direction of the silent assassin's keep and tells her to continue on for 2 miles and she'll find it. When she eventually gets to the keep, she's taken before the Mute Master and tells him that she was sent by Arabin Hamel. Arabin told her that she needs to get the Mute Master's approval in writing using the name Selena Sardothian. He said she can't use any other name to get the Mute Master's approval. She is kneeling before the Master, and he motions for her to rise, and then he snaps his fingers, and 4 men attack her. Of course, she disarms the 4 men. She's then introduced to a girl in wolf armor whose name is Ansel. She will be sharing a room with Ansel for the months that she is here. No, for the month. Singular month she is here. Ansel takes her to the bathing chambers and tells her she will meet her in the room later. She learns Ansel has been there for 5 years and the Master has never personally taught her. Ansel is 18 years old and she's telling Selena that her dad is Lord of Briarcliff. Selena later falls asleep and is thinking of Arabin's punishment when they returned from Skull's Bay. He ended up calling in 3 assassins to hold Sam back while Arabin beat Selena until she blacked out. The whole time Sam was screaming something, but she just doesn't remember what yet. You guys, I can't. This book hurt my feelings so bad. The first time it was just like, okay, like, damn, that's sad. Second time, you pick up on so many more things the second time around. Okay. Selena then goes to the dining hall with Ansel. She meets Mikhail, who looks like Rolf and seems to maybe be a love interest to Ansel. The Mute Master's son, his name is Ilias, has his eye on Selena, and Ansel tells Selena about Lord Beric, who is kind of like the Lord of Xandria, who attempts to kill the members of the keep constantly. It's giving Plankton trying to always get the Krabby Patty formula, and it just never happens for him. Ansel tells Selena they need to run 3 miles through the desert to the next oasis with 2 buckets. They'll fill the buckets and run back. So every day they're running 6 miles, which is crazy. Selena barely makes it there. She sits in the water and then walks back with the 2 buckets. After dinner, she follows the Mute Master out of the dining hall and ends up trying to gesture to him, telling him that she wants to train with him. They're kind of using sign language. She doesn't know it, but I think the other people do. He signs back that she needs to wait. And she went the route of not speaking to kind of respect the fact that he doesn't speak. Later that night, in the room with Ansel, she confirms that she's been seeing Mikhail since she was 15. Okay. Selena goes to bed thinking about Sam and how she's become attached to him and wonders why Arabin needed 3 assassins to restrain him. I'm literally smiling I need to stop. But we'll move on. On her 5th night there, Lord Beric attacks. They're woken up in the middle of the night to deal with this new threat. They need to light arrows on fire and hit an oil-soaked rope that goes around the perimeter of the fortress. This ends up scaring off the assassins that Lord Beric had sent to kill them. Then Ansel gets orders from the master that she needs to take a letter to Lord Beric in Xandria and asks Celaena if she wants to join her. That night, on their journey to Xandria, Ansel tells her about the one time she came across an Iron Teeth witch. She had gone to this archway with her sister and her sister's friend to look through it because they were told you can see another world, and an Iron Teeth witch was waiting in the shadows. The witch ended up grabbing her sister's friend, and the only thing that was found the next morning were fresh-picked bones, specifically children's bones. They make it to Xandria. Ansel tells her to go do some shopping while she goes to talk to Lord Beric. Celaena comes across a merchant selling spider silk. He tells her he's 25, but he looks to be in his 40s because he exchanged 20 years of his life for 100 yards of spider silk. Apparently, the only way to get those years back is to kill the spider that he gave the 20 years to, and he wants Celaena to be the one to kill the spider. She tells him to contact Arabin when he comes back to the southern continent because he was going to leave and come back, and he gives her a small piece of spider silk as a reminder that everything has a cost. A few square inches is how it's described. Ansel then returns from her meeting with Lord Beric and quickly guides Celaena to the stables, where she asks Celaena if she's a good rider, and of course Celaena says yes. Then she jumps on an Asterian mare and bolts out of the stables. Celaena, of course, follows. What else is she to do? Ansel and Celaena are racing back to the Silent Assassin's fortress, and they're being chased by 3 guards on horseback. They go down by the coast, and the horses run by the water. They decide instead of going around the cleaver, which is like this big rock wall that separates the desert that they had to travel around the first time, they're going to jump over it. The Asterian mares make the 30-foot jump, and they're able to escape the guards that were chasing them. They stop for the night, and Ansel tells Celaena about Briarcliff. She says that 5 years ago, Lord Locke demanded Ansel's father yield to him, and when he refused, Lord Locke came back and killed Ansel's dad and sister. She was hiding at the time, and she saw it all happen, but that's how she escaped that. He declared himself High King. She then took her dad's sword and ran. When she got to the White Fang Mountains, she came across an Iron Teeth witch who told her it wasn't her fate to die in that moment and sent her to the Silent Assassins. Celaena cries as she tells her the story, and they promise each other to make men pay for the monstrous things they do. As you should. Honestly, as you should. Ansel and Celaena are then immediately brought before the Mute Master to explain what happened with the Asterian mares. Ansel says she'll fix it, and then Celaena lies and says that it was all her idea. The Mute Master ends up inviting her to be personally trained by him, and that's going to happen the next morning. She spends the next several days observing different animals and learning different techniques from them. She learns how to strike like an asp. She then hangs upside down like a bat. She learns how to be stealthy like them. She's studying rabbits. Like she's learning things from nature, essentially. Celaena is later on putting makeup on Ansel in their room, and they're getting ready for Midsummer Eve celebrations. I believe it's also Ansel's birthday, and they have a Midsummer Eve festival, and everyone remains silent. There's no music, but there's a lot of dancing. Ilias, who is the Mute Master's son, silently asks her to dance, and they dance together for a while Ansel dances with Mikhail. Ilias walks her to her room, where he goes in for a kiss, but she takes a step back. The excuse she gives him is like, oh, I'm leaving soon. Like, I'm about to leave in a week, and I don't think it's a good idea. And Ilias is really chill about it. He's like, yeah, understand. I mean, I guess he didn't say anything because he can't speak. But the real reason is because she was thinking about Sam. Guys, I can't do this. Okay. The next morning, Ansel does the walk of shame to the stables to do their chores, and Celaena thinks that Ansel is jealous that the Mute Master is training her, and Ansel admits to getting with Mikhail to get extra training time in the first place. They get into an argument, and Selena says that even if Ansel goes back and claims her territory, no one will hear about it because no one will care. Ansel then calls Selena a spoiled, selfish bitch, which, I mean, if the boot fits. Selena later has training with the Mute Master, and he seems to be asking her what's wrong. She tells him that she doesn't want to go home, and then he starts working through different movements that remind her of the asp that she'd been studying, and she starts doing them with him. She later goes into her room and falls asleep at dawn. She's woken up around dinner time by Ansel, who's in her full armor. Ansel apologizes and then says that she brought them each a goblet of wine. Selena drinks the wine, and then the world goes black. Selena wakes up in the middle of the desert with no weapons. She finds a note from Ansel saying that the Mute Master didn't want to embarrass her by asking her to leave in front of everyone, so this was the solution, and claiming that the Mute Master wrote her letter of recommendation, and it's in the saddlebag. She travels to Xandria and books passage on a ship to make her way back to Rifthold with her Asterian mare. She comes across 200 men marching toward the Silent Assassin's Keep. She starts thinking about that spider silk merchant, and he was like, well, yeah, there's got to be a spy amongst you guys talking about the Silent Assassins. She's starting to piece together that Ansel could be working with Lord Beric, potentially. She opens the letter from the Mute Master to find it completely blank, and she remembers that his signet ring was missing from his finger, so she's assuming that Ansel stole the signet ring to seal it. She gets on the horse and races back to the fortress. Once she gets there, she sees a bunch of fires, there's people fighting. She heads straight for the Mute Master's chambers. She sees Mikhail dead on the floor, and Ilias is bleeding out, but he's still alive. She then sees the Mute Master has been poisoned with some kind of paralyzing agent, and Ansel is standing over him, talking to him with her sword drawn. Selena tries to stop Ansel, and they start fighting. Ansel reveals that she made a deal with Lord Beric, who agreed to give her 10,000 men to go win back her dad's territory. 10,000 men in exchange for the Mute Master's head. Ansel also reveals that she was the one to kill Mikhail. Selena gets the upper hand in the battle and is about to kill Ansel when she tells her, I'm getting chills again. She tells her that she has 5 minutes to pack her belongings and go. She's going to fire an arrow aimed at Ansel in the next 20 minutes, and she needs to be out of range. And then she tells Ansel, go home. Whew. Okay, Ilias gets taken to get his wounds tended to, while Selena checks in on the Mute Master. He quietly reminds her about her promise to Ansel, so he just kind of tilts his head toward the door like, girl, you gonna get her or what? Selena then goes outside and fires the arrow at Ansel and barely misses. She promised that she had 20 minutes to get out of range, and Selena fired after 21. The Mute Master breaks his silence and talks to Selena, saying he's not going to tell any of the other assassins about what Ansel did. He knew Ansel was lying the whole time she was there, but he wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt or the opportunity to, turn things around, I guess. He ends up giving Selena her letter of recommendation, as well as several trunks full of gold to repay her debt to Arabin. He instructs her to give it to Arabin and tell him that in the Red Desert, they do not abuse their disciples. That wraps up the assassin and the desert. So we have 2 left. Probably the most heartbreaking too. Moving on to the assassin and the underworld. Selena walks back into the Assassin's Keep and straight into Arabin's office, where he ignores her while he reads some documents. She's prepared to give him the gold and quit immediately, and when he finally speaks, he apologizes to her. He says he regretted his actions and was planning on getting her back from the Red Desert, but it would have taken too long to send somebody, and by the time the person gets there, a month would have already passed and she would have already been back, so wasn't worth it. Okay, Arabin. He ends up gifting her an emerald brooch and then gifts her an assignment. Benzo Donoval wants to set up slave trading in Rifthold, and she needs to dispatch him as well as the documents he has with him that act as blackmail against Leifer Bardingdale. Leifer Bardingdale is Benzo Donoval's ex-wife. She will get a bonus for dispatching the partner as well that he's meeting with, and Arabin says that he will not take a cut from this mission. All of this sounds fishy. On her way back to her room after that conversation, she sees Sam, and this is the first time that she's seeing him since that first novella, from Skulls Bay. He doesn't look like he was injured at all by Arabin. He asks if she's hurt, and he wants to know how she got the cut on her neck. We're then introduced to Lysandra. She comes out of one of the rooms and comes over to Sam. Lysandra is a courtesan who is in training, and her bidding is in a few days. Lysandra is hinting that there's something between her and Sam, and there has been all summer, but Sam tells her to go back to her luncheon. He's like, girl, get lost. Selena storms back to her room and slams the door. Perhaps she's feeling a little jealous. Selena goes into the city to get her nails, hair, and eyebrows done. Love it. On her way back to the keep, she sees the convoy from Melisande, I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, going through the streets. She then decides to take on the Donoval mission, and Arabin gives her a new suit that has built-in blades. She asks the tinkerer who's working on the suit to sew this piece of spider silk into the heart of the suit. Well, she asks, would you be able to sew this into the heart of the suit? Okay, let's keep that in mind. Selena runs into Sam again in the hall. He's judging her for accepting all of these gifts from Arabin in exchange for his forgiveness, or for her forgiveness, I guess. Yes. So he's judging her for accepting the fact that Arabin's just giving her these gifts and then she'll just eventually forgive him. He then tells her that the price that he gave to Arabin for his forgiveness was Arabin's oath that he'd never lay a hand on Selena again. Arabin then tells her she needs to go to the theater to keep an eye on Donoval, and she's joined by Arabin, Sam, and Lysandra. They're getting settled in Arabin's box seats, and he comes over and points out her target, which is Donoval. The woman who hired the assassin is his ex-wife, and she's with him in the theater as well. I mean, because you don't want to look suspicious. Selena is seated and turns around to tell Sam that he looks handsome. She's trying to find something nice to say to him. He then leans forward and tells her that she looks beautiful. Afterwards, they go back to the keep, and she goes into one of the rooms to play the piano. When she came out, Sam was leaning against the wall in the hallway listening to her play. She was trying to recreate what they just listened to in the theater. They briefly talk, and Selena's asking him about Lysandra, and then she makes it sound like there was more between her and Ilias from the Red Desert to make him jealous. So Sam tells her that Arabin beat him the same way he beat Selena, but his real punishment was having to watch Arabin beat her that night. Guys, I can't. I need to just not think about it too much. She then asks him to join her on her mission going after Donoval. Selena and Sam are then on a rooftop spying on Donoval. They clear up the Ilias-Lysandra thing. Basically, there wasn't really anything more with Ilias. There wasn't anything happening with Lysandra. Glad we got that out of the way. They see him get into a carriage and leave, and they realize that he's really heavily guarded. They see one of his guards slip away, and they end up following him to a tavern. They watch him have a few drinks and then walk home. They're both incredibly bored with all this. As they're waiting, they hear some people talking about how the streets will be flooded in the next couple days to get rid of all the waste from the festivals that have been happening. They go back to the keep, and when Selena gets out of the bath and goes to her room, she finds some papers wrapped up with red string and a note that says, "Don't stain these with your tears. It took a lot of bribes to get these." So Sam went and got the sheet music from the performance that they listened to the night before. After hearing her try to replicate it on the piano, he got her the sheet music. I need to calm down. They end up going into this Harvest Moon party that Leifer Bardingdale is throwing. If you remember, Leifer Bardingdale is the one that hired them to kill Donoval. Sam and Selena are keeping a close eye on Donoval, who's surrounded by young courtesans. Selena tells Sam not to follow her as she makes her way over to Donoval. So she makes up this story that her uncle is a merchant, trying to make some kind of appointment with Donoval. She's asking him questions to figure out when he's available, but she's really just trying to figure out when that meeting's happening in 3 days. She's able to figure it out and then leaves her conversation with him to get on the dance floor. A few masked strangers come in, and the one with sapphire eyes wants to dance with her, but Sam says she's spoken for. Back off, his lady. She gets upset at Sam, and he ends up leaving her alone to dance with whoever she wants. Later, she's at her apartment / fake warehouse. It's like a fake warehouse on the bottom. She lives in an apartment at the top of it, and she's thinking about giving Arabin the money to be free of her contract with him. He doesn't know that she has his apartment. The next morning, Selena's training, and she's talking with Sam, and they agree that she needs to go scope out Donoval's study so she can find the documents that he will be providing at this meeting. Sam is insisting that she shouldn't be putting herself in harm's way, and he's worried about her, but Selena, of course, brushes him off. Lysandra ends up coming over because she's always around, apparently, and she's asking Sam to join her for tea. He declines and then immediately turns to Selena and says, "Have lunch with me," but she says she's got things to do. Selena goes to Donoval's house to break into his study. She notices there aren't as many guards, and she goes in through the study window. She senses an attack moments before it happens. She ends up fighting off several guards in the study and is then knocked out. She wakes up and realizes that she's tied up in the sewers, which are about to be flooded. We meet Donoval's bodyguard. His name is Philip, and he asks her where her friend is and tells her that they've noticed him spying on them the past few days. They plan to leave her in the sewer while it floods. She's able to cut the ropes off of her hands because she's wearing that suit that's got the built-in blades. So she ends up cutting the ropes off of her. The sewer is filling quickly. She's trying to come up with an escape plan, and the water is coming in faster and faster. She makes it to a grate that, of course, she finds out the hard way can't be opened. She starts screaming for help, and Sam shows up and starts pulling on the grate. The sewer keeps filling with more and more water. Sam is trying his best to get the grate off, but his knife snapped in half. Selena then accepts that this is the way she dies and asks him to bring her body to Terracin. She then wakes up because someone's roaring at her to breathe and they're pounding on her chest. She vomits a bunch of water and sees Sam kneeling beside her with two women holding a crowbar. I'd love to see Sam's POV with, like, how did that happen? When did he find these women? Where were they? Like, I just want to know all of that information because I'm nosy. Back at the Assassin's Keep, she takes several baths, including one in straight liquor, and I was like, wouldn't you, like, die? But I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. Sam comes to her room and she thanks him for saving her life. She tells him about how she got the scar on her neck and the whole story about Ansel. She tells him that Ansel was her friend and then about her firing the arrow a minute late. They talk about how now her kill list is one person longer because Philip tried to drown Adderlin's assassin and she's not having it, as she shouldn't. The next morning, Selena takes her trunks of gold to Arabin's office and pays off her debt and then some. He tells her she is now a free woman. She tells him she still wants to work with him, but obviously she doesn't want to be owned by him. Afterwards, she doesn't feel the sense of relief that she thought she would. Sam and Selena then go into the sewers to scope out the iron door that leads up to Donoval's house. They make a plan for one of them to sneak inside while a servant isn't looking and unlock the door for the other person to come in. They're walking through the sewers, and Sam tells her that he will be leaving at the end of the month and not returning to Rifthold. He's actually going to end up going to Benjali. That's what he's telling her. He says that he spent the whole summer wanting to slit Arabin's throat, but he couldn't because he was waiting for Selena to come back and get her revenge, which she never did because she just accepted all of the gifts that Arabin was giving her. She asks him not to go, and he says that he can't stay because if he stays, he'll snap Arabin's neck. And when he's asked why he can't let it go, Sam says, "Because I love you." You guys, I'm unwell. He's screaming at her. He's like, "Because I love you." And then he says that he knows if he asked her to pick, she would choose Arabin, and he can't take it. She then grabs the sides of his face and she calls him an idiot because she would pick him. And then she kisses him. Oh, I am unwell. I am so unwell. They end up making out for an extended period of time. and then walking back to the keep holding hands. I do want to point out this was in the sewer, so it's not giving like hot and sexy. It's giving hot garbage, but it's okay. It's okay. They end up having dinner together in her room. They kiss some more. And when he leaves for the night, she swears an oath to the moonlight that if Sam were hurt, no force in the world could hold her back from slaughtering everyone responsible. The next day, Selena and Sam are in the sewers waiting for a servant to open the door so Selena can sneak in. She successfully sneaks in and then disables the locks on the door so Sam can come in and start a fire in the cellar, which will serve as a distraction. And they can use that as the cause of death for Donoval. Selena breaks into Donoval's study, finds a trick floorboard, and removes it to find all of the documents she was sent to get. It lists the locations for safe houses to smuggle slaves to freedom, and it's a list of people from Melisande who were opposed to slavery. It's enough information to get the people on the list killed or enslaved themselves. Right when she's about to put the documents away, she hears voices out in the hall. She ends up getting into the armoire and sees Donoval and his business partner having a conversation. Donoval then goes over to the floorboard to get the documents. He notices they're missing, and before he stands up, Selena kills him. She tries to kill his partner, but he runs away, and she comes across Philip in the hallway, this guy. He asks what she's done and says she doesn't know what she's doing. She ends up killing Philip as well and then chasing after the business partner. She finds the business partner in an alley where he lights the documents that he has on fire and takes a poison to kill himself. Selena then finds Sam after all of this and makes sure he's okay before they continue on. The next morning, Selena goes to talk to Arabin, where he says he's not going to pay her because they lit the house on fire, so there's no identifiable body. He then reveals that Leifer, which is the ex-wife who hired them, that Leifer has been having slave trade meetings with the king in the glass castle this entire time while she was distracted with Donoval. Selena then realizes that Donoval was setting up safe houses and he was working to help free the slaves. She was tricked by Arabin to kill him. Selena then informs Arabin that she sold her Asterian mare to Leifer and is using that money to pay off Sam's debt. Arabin tells her that he used the money Selena gave him to pay off her debt in order to buy Lysandra's virginity at her bidding. So Selena's pissed about that. Selena then tells him that she's moving out and promises the next time she sees him, she's going to try to kill him. And he says he looks forward to that fight. Later on, she's at her apartment looking out over the city. Sam joins her and asks how he can repay her for paying off his debt, and she says he doesn't have to. Sam then tells her that he loves her again and he never wants to be separated from her. Now that wraps up The Assassin in the Underworld. We're moving into the last novella. This is The Assassin and the Empire, the most heartbreaking of the 5. So we start with the chapters titled After, and it's Selena Sardathian in a prison wagon thinking about, did she bring this on herself? Those kinds of thoughts. And so reading this the first time, you're like, I'm sorry, what? Why is she in a prison wagon? And then the rest of the novella is spent explaining to you how she got into that wagon. So then we have 11 days earlier. Selena is in the Royal Theatre seeing an orchestra perform that she's seen every year for the past 4 years. All of the previous times she went with Arabin, but this time she's in the rafters and she sees that Arabin brought Lysandra with him. She goes back to her apartment that she shares with Sam. She doesn't let him pay any portion of the apartment because it's hers and it wouldn't feel like it's hers. If he starts paying for it, it would feel like it's theirs. She finds a note from Sam that says, I've gone out, don't wait up. She then stalks out of the apartment and slams the door. She gets to the vaults and sees Sam fighting. So she motions to him, it's time to wrap it up and leave. As they're walking home, he says they needed the money and that's his way of getting it through these fights. And he then suggests that they leave Rifthold, but she reminds him that they're still members of the Assassin's Guild and they always will be even if they move. They agree to each take on one more contract and use that money to then move somewhere else. Selena doesn't know if she wants to move just yet, but she's sure about taking on another contract. Sam comes up behind Selena and is kissing on her neck and apologizing for going into the vaults. She realizes he's been using her expensive lavender soap and tells him to stop, and he shuts her up with a kiss. She's thinking to herself, wondering if Arabin would let them leave Rifthold. So then Sam and Selena go to the Assassin's Guild and talk to Arabin. They're basically trying to buy their way out of being members of the guild. Selena suggests a number, and Arabin counters with the exact amount of money that she has in her bank account, almost like he knows exactly how much is in there. She agrees the amount, and then Sam gets mad at her. They're walking home, and Sam is clearly frustrated with all this and says that he needs to go clear his head. She doesn't see him until later that evening when he comes home and says he found them a client. This client wants him to kill Yo and Jane and his second in command, Rourke Farron, which are the biggest crime lords in Rifthold. Selena says that she needs to think about it, and then her and Sam start kissing, and there seems to be a question in his eyes, but she says not yet, because if she's only going to do this once, she wants to enjoy every step. Do this once, meaning this whole relationship thing. Ouch, that one hurt. Selena wakes up the next morning and lets Sam know that she's ready to go after Farron and Jane. They end up walking past Jane's house to try to scope it out, see what's going on, and they see Rourke Farron getting into a carriage. He's apparently known for torturing people, and that's what got him the spot as Yo and Jane's second in the first place. Sam comes up with the idea that he will take out Rourke Farron, and then Selena can take out Yo and Jane. Selena's not super happy about them not working together, but Sam seems pretty insistent that he needs to be the one to take out Rourke Farron, and she'll take out Yo and Jane. And he's like, I'm the one that got us the job, so we're going to play by my rules. Selena then goes to her dance lessons, and when she comes back, she finds Arabin on her couch. Selena pours tea for her and Arabin. Arabin tells her that he would never go after Jane, even for all the money that she's being promised. He tells her that she's being ridiculous. He asks her not to leave Rifthold, and then goes on to ask if she truly trusts Sam, trying to create some kind of divide between the two of them, and if Sam knows where she came from. She tells Arabin to get out, and before he leaves, he turns around and tells her that he loves her. This is the first time that he's ever said those words to Selena, and she internally is thinking, like, I've been waiting for this moment, and he's using it right now as a weapon. He said he did everything that he did because he was upset that she picked Sam. She tells him to get out again, and he finally leaves. Later that night, Sam and Selena are talking, and she asks him to tell her his biggest secret. He says the only secret that he'd had in his entire life is that he loves her. And when asked what her secret is, Selena says that deep down she's a coward and she's scared. Sam then tells her that whenever he's scared, he tells himself, "My name is Sam Cortland, and I will not be afraid." Now, with this reading order, now all the other ones make sense. But I still think it should be read first. Okay, moving on. Selena and Sam end up trailing Rourke to find out like where he's going, pick up on his habits, those types of things. They follow him to the vault, which is owned by Jane, and they see him inspecting all of the courtesans that work there and then taking a prisoner to be tortured below the vault, and they hear his screams coming up from below. When they're on their way back home, Sam and Selena have a conversation where Sam wonders if they're just like Rourke. But Selena says the difference is they don't enjoy doing what they do, but Rourke does. When they're back in the apartment, Sam tells Selena that Arabin ran into him on the street to let him know that he visited Selena yesterday, and he acted shocked that Selena didn't tell Sam. Arabin. And told Sam to ask Selena about what happened before Arabin found her on that riverbank. Sam says it's not his business, he doesn't need to know, but they need to get away from Arabin because this is going to be a constant thing. He tells Selena that he booked them passage on a ship to the southern continent, and Selena doesn't want to go to the southern continent. He insists that they'll move however many times they need to in order to find the place that's right for them. All right, it's all downhill from here. So Selena is in the apartment trying to distract herself from watching the minutes go by because Sam is out killing Rourke Farron. She's worried about him the more time passes. She ends up getting dressed and going into the city to look for him. When she doesn't find him or anything amiss, she heads back home. Now, they agreed on a time that if he wasn't home by this time, go out looking for him. but she goes out before that, and she's just hoping that if he is back home, he's not mad at her. Time keeps passing by. She's in and out of sleep. Selena keeps expecting him to come home, but he doesn't. The next morning, she scours every street and is looking in the river, and he's just nowhere to be found. She gets to her apartment and she sees the door slightly ajar, and she gets hit with a sense of relief and is going to scream at him for stressing her out. But then she opens the door fully and sees Arabin Hamel on her couch, and he just says, "I'm sorry." I'm going to try my best to hold it together, you guys. So Arabin tells her that Farron and Jane must have thought Sam was still living at the Assassin's Keep because they sent him a message. And Selena says she wants to see the body. She ends up walking out of her front door straight to the keep and is just kind of numb this whole time. Arabin keeps telling her she doesn't want to see the body, but she insists. She finally sees him. It's really Sam. He is dead. He was clearly tortured. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but there's like markings on his chest. I don't want to go further than that, actually, but like obviously like he was tortured. She takes her cloak off and puts it over his body and then climbs on the table next to him and holds him. Whew, okay, I'm fine. His body smells like the cheap soap that she made him use and something that was so distinctly not Sam. She closes her eyes and she says that she wouldn't leave him alone. I'm unwell, so I just got to keep pushing. Selena wakes up in her old room in the keep. She hears voices outside and realizes it's Arabin talking to two of his assassins about how they're going to go kill Rourke and Jane in their sleep in 3 hours, and they're going to kill them for killing Sam. He also mentions that someone must have turned on Sam because they had set a trap for him. One of the other assassins specifically mentions a house that is next door to Jane's house that can be used to jump off of into the second story of Jane's house. Arabin then comes into the room and Selena is pretending to be asleep. He leaves and locks her in her room. Of course, she escapes through the window and she decides that she's going to get revenge for Sam herself. She's stopped by Wesley, and it seems that he's trying to tell her something, but she knocks him out before he can finish his sentence. And she makes it to this house that was mentioned and then leaps off the roof. Selena crashes into the room and sees that there's a meeting happening right now. She thought it was going to be an empty room. There's a meeting going on. She was tricked. She immediately starts killing guards, trying to make her way to Rourke. She ends up killing Jane, and then guards come in with gas masks and then set off some kind of Gloriella gas, which paralyzes her, and she realizes that it smells like that scent that was on Sam. Rourke then reveals that he made a deal with someone, at this point in time we do not know who exactly, to kill Sam to make Selena go crazy to come kill Jane, so Rourke could take Jane's place, and then Rourke was to hand Selena over to the king to take responsibility for Jane's death. She's then knocked out with the pommel of someone's sword. She wakes up in a cell and is able to piece together that she's in the royal dungeons. She's thinking to herself that Arabin is going to come save her soon. Once she remembers that Sam's dead, she doesn't feel like fighting the guards because there's nothing to live for. She then overhears the guards talking about whether or not she's the real Selena Sardathian. Oh, that can't be her. She's too young. They just grabbed this girl off the street and they're putting the blame on her. The captain of the guard is currently racing back to Rifthold for her trial, but he won't make it in time. Selena is brought before the king and they read the list of all the lives that she's taken. And she's thinking, Arabin made it a point of telling everyone through his own secret channels who she killed. So this was all public information thanks to Arabin. The king forces her to look at him after she refuses to look at him for a while, and then asks if she has any last words. She says yes, make it quick. He then sentences her to 9 lives worth of labor in the Andovier salt mines. He wants to put her on the first wagon to Andovier, and they're also given orders to keep her alive as long as possible so she can endure the pain as long as possible. We then get Arabin's point of view, and he's talking to Rourke Farron, where we find out that he was planning on saving Selena from the butchering block. So it sounds like, hold on, let me finish this and then, okay. So Arabin says that he was the one to give Rourke his crown. So it's fair to assume that Arabin set this all up. Rourke asks him why he did it, and Arobin says, because I don't like to share my belongings. So Arobin set all of this up, first of all, because he was just jealous that Celaena was picking Sam. So his plan was have Sam killed, Celaena kills Jane, Rourke takes Jane's place and then hands Celaena over to the king to be killed. Then Arobin comes in and saves Celaena from the king, so then she's back with Arobin and feels like she's indebted to him. What a piece of shit. Okay. Then we have a chapter called After Again. So she's riding in the prison wagon for 2 days and thinking about the long journey, and then she sees the white stag from the wagon. She remembers how she told Ansel that the white stag symbolizes a way for the people of Terrasen to find their way back home. The guards pull their bowstrings and aim it at the stag. She yells at it to run, and none of the arrows hit their mark. We then have a chapter called Beginning. Celaena's in the wagon, and 2 weeks have passed. She feels the northern breeze of Terrasen, and she's telling herself, my name is Celaena Sardathian. My name is Celaena Sardathian. But she can't finish the sentence yet. She says she will tuck Sam into her heart and find out who did this to them. She finally says, my name is Celaena Sardathian, and I will not be afraid, as she enters the salt mines of Endovir. And that is a wrap on The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I need to know what you guys think. When did you read this? Do you like it? Where does it fall in the order of your least to most favorite from the series? I really like this book, especially doing the reread. It hurts so bad. It hurts so bad. If you have watched this far, first of all, thank you so much. Second of all, you are officially part of the Baddies Club, so thank you so much for watching this far. If you have, make sure to send me an emoji. Today's going to be the treasure chest that's full of all the gold and stuff, because she had those trunks full of gold to pay off her debt. Yes, we're going to go with that. So you can either DM me, comment on my most recent post. You can find me on Instagram at bestfriend.bookclub or at Simply Serotonin. It's simply Saratonin. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really hope you enjoy these episodes, and I'll see you in a little while for the theories, because I have a lot to say about this book. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.